Good morning, I'm Craig DeGrelli. It's Wednesday, October 30th, 2024, and these are your Unbiased Updates. T-minus 6 days until the election, former President Donald Trump stumps in Allentown, Pennsylvania, as Vice President Kamala Harris delivers her closing argument. What each said about what's at stake next Tuesday. Also, a gunman opens fire from a hotel in Atlanta. How the volatile situation finally came to an end as police cleared the area.
From the Straight Arrow News Studio, bringing the stories that matter to you from across the United States and around the world. These are today's Unbiased Updates.
This morning, the campaign trail is taking some twists with under a week to go until Election Day and already more than 50 million ballots cast. Both presidential candidates gave dueling speeches on Tuesday night. The Democratic nominee, Vice President Kamala Harris, delivering what she described as her closing argument to the American people near the White House. As Republican nominee, former President Donald Trump, looked to court Latino voters in the battleground state of Pennsylvania. By the end of the night, though, Trump's attention turned to the current president and comments made by Joe Biden in response to the Trump headline-making Madison Square Garden rally. But we begin with the vice president's address at the Ellipse in Washington, D.C., where she emphasized its significance as the same site where former President Trump spoke to his supporters right before the riots at the Capitol on January 6th, 2021.
So tonight, I will speak to everyone about the choice and the stakes in this election. Look, we know who Donald Trump is. He is the person who stood at this very spot nearly 4 years ago and sent an armed mob to the United States Capitol to overturn the will of the people in a free and fair election.
The vice president telling voters she will seek common ground, saying she will give those who disagree with her, quote, a seat at the table.
And as Americans, we rise and fall together. America, for too long, we have been consumed with too much division, chaos, and mutual distrust. And it can be easy then to forget a simple truth. It doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this way. It is time to stop pointing fingers. We have to stop pointing fingers and start locking arms. It is time to turn the page on the drama and the conflict.
Then we turn to Pennsylvania, where former President Trump reached out to voters during a rally in the majority Hispanic city of Allentown.
I'm here today with a message of hope for all Americans. With your vote this election, oh, do I look forward to this election? Do we look? I'm going to say we, because we're going to do it as a group. We will end inflation. We will stop the invasion of criminals into our country. And we will bring back the American dream. We're doing it together, Pennsylvania.
During his rally, the former president asked his supporters to vote and send in their mail-in ballots early, saying, quote, they've already cheated in the state, a reference to law enforcement in Lancaster County announcing they were investigating around 2,500 voter registration forms for alleged fraud. However, Trump turned his attention to President Biden after Senator Marco Rubio was invited on the stage.
I wasn't going to say anything, but I have breaking news for you, Mr. President. You may not have heard this. Just moments ago, Joe Biden stated that our supporters are garbage. Are garbage. He's talking about the Border Patrol. He's talking about nurses. He's talking about teachers. He's talking about everyday Americans who love their country and want to dream big again and support you, Mr. President.
Remember Hillary? She said deplorable. And then she said irredeemable, right? But she said deplorable. That didn't work out. Garbage, I think, is worse, right?
What they were referring to were comments made by President Biden during a Vote Latino campaign call Tuesday night. Biden speaking about the comedian who made controversial jokes about Puerto Rico during Trump's Madison Square Garden rally on Sunday.
And just the other day, a speaker at his rally called Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage. Well, let me tell you something. I don't know the Puerto Rican that I know, or Puerto Rico, where I'm in my home state of Delaware. They're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
The White House issued a statement saying, quote, the president referred to the hateful rhetoric at the Madison Square Garden rally as garbage. And President Biden himself followed up on his comments with a post on X saying this: earlier today, I referred to the hateful rhetoric about Puerto Rico spewed by Trump's supporter at his Madison Square Garden rally as garbage. The comments at that rally don't reflect who we are as a nation. During an appearance on Fox News later in the night, Trump told host Sean Hannity nobody from his campaign vetted the comedian before the MSG rally. As it pertains to the alleged voter fraud in Pennsylvania, Governor Josh Shapiro told CNN there will be safe elections in the state. And when asked about Biden's garbage comment, Shapiro said, it's certainly not the words I would choose. The Supreme Court has denied a push from former 2024 presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to remove his name from the ballots in 2 key swing states. Even though the independent dropped out of the race and endorsed former President Donald Trump, his name remains on the ballots in Michigan and Wisconsin. It was unlikely the Supreme Court would have ruled in his favor because voting is already underway in both states. Kennedy's name also remains on the ballot in some other states, but he did not ask the Supreme Court to take it off anywhere but Wisconsin and Michigan in an apparent move to secure more votes for his ally, Donald Trump. Longtime Trump ally Steve Bannon wasted no time showing his support for the former president after being released from prison yesterday morning. Bannon just finished serving a 4-month sentence for defying a subpoena from Congress during its investigation into the U.S. Capitol attack on January 6, 2021. His first order of business was to resume his podcast and online show War Room. He then held a news conference urging Republicans to turn out in droves to vote for Trump on Tuesday.
I am far from broken. I've been empowered by my 4 months at Danbury Federal Prison. Obviously, with 7 days or 6 days left, you have to have a convergence of the get out the vote effort. I am not a huge believer in our ability to actually participate in rallies or do rallies, because right now I think President Trump does that great, and he has people along that are going to do rallies in the different states. Our focus is one thing: to make sure that we get as many American citizens either early voting while they can or to the polls next Tuesday.
Bannon still faces additional criminal charges in New York State, where he's accused of duping donors who gave money to build a wall along the U.S.-Mexico border. He has pleaded not guilty to money laundering, conspiracy, fraud, and other charges. His trial in that case is scheduled to begin in December. Out west, a judge sentenced the man who broke into former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's Northern California home in 2022 and attacked her husband Paul with a hammer to life in prison without the possibility of parole. 44-year-old David DePape was already serving 30 years in federal prison for the attack when a San Francisco jury found him guilty of multiple state charges in June. Both the prosecution and the defense said the life without parole sentence will be served concurrently with DePape's federal sentence. It has not yet been determined where he will serve his punishment. A police officer and a suspected shooter are recovering after gunfire broke out at the Four Seasons in Atlanta on Tuesday. The Atlanta police chief says the officer was hospitalized with non-life-threatening injuries. The suspect, later identified as a 70-year-old man, also went to the hospital, but his injuries were not specified. Authorities say the man fired at least once from the balcony of a residence on the 33rd floor of the 53-story high-rise building. They say he also shot through walls and doors, but no other injuries were reported. Police identified the suspect, who lives in a residential portion of the building and was not a guest of the Four Seasons hotel portion. Finally this morning, put those brooms away because the New York Yankees crushed the Los Angeles Dodgers' dreams of sweeping the World Series. Despite Dodgers first baseman Freddie Freeman hitting another home run, becoming the first player ever to homer in games 1, 2, 3, and 4, the Yankees slammed L.A. 11-4 in Game 4 Tuesday night in the Bronx, highlighted by 3 home runs, including a grand slam by shortstop Anthony Volpe. The game also featured an odd moment. Look, when Yankees fans tried to pry a foul ball out of the glove of Dodgers outfielder Mookie Betts. Yeah, they grabbed his arm, grabbed his mitt, the whole thing. The fans were escorted out of their seats by stadium security after that play. By the way, the 11 runs were the most by the Yankees in a World Series game since Game 5 of the 1978 series against the Dodgers when they scored 12. Now the Yankees are hoping to do what no other team has done in Major League Baseball history, come back from being down 3-0 in the Fall Classic to win it all. The Dodgers still just need one more win to claim the championship. Game 5 is tonight at Yankee Stadium. So the plot thickens. I'm telling you, if the Yankees win tonight, yikes, look out. These are your unbiased updates for this Wednesday. We'll see you back here tomorrow. For all of us at Straight Arrow News, I'm Craig DeGrelli. Have a great day.